Happy Sunday. So it's been really rainy here, so I wonder how the weather is where you are at. It's pretty warm today though. So out here this morning getting ready to feed all of these goats. Cecily is trying to get her cut up or something. What are you doing, Cecily? You guys gotta move. You're standing on the door. So if I don't let them out fast enough, they start coming through the window. Come on, guys. They did have grain out there, so they're not even like hungry. Go ahead. Did you shake everything off? So it's just been raining a ton here, so it's a little bit wet in this room. It rains like all night long. I think it has been one of the wettest Decembers that I remember. Are you guys not hungry? Hi, Miss Blue. Are you coming in? This is what they really love to eat. Move your head. This is beet pulp shreds. It's their favorite. What do you want, Blue? They're not even really hungry this morning. I'm just gonna eat out of the can. When it's in a different container, it automatically makes them want to eat out of it. Who is screaming? Miss Moon. I can recognize that scream. She's really been on a weird kick. She was actually in heat yesterday, so that's why. I told my daughter how loud she was, and she didn't believe me that she was actually that loud, but you can hear her, so she is very loud. So this is for my big doe pen. I give them a full 2-gallon bucket in the morning. Hi, Miss Penny. Are you not hungry? It's on your nose. Let me wipe off your nose. You don't like that. She's got a spot right here in the middle of her neck. And on down. I wonder how she'll look when she's shaved. She also has a spot in the middle of her nose. You can't really see it now. Do you feel okay? You seem kind of tired. Penny is the biggest of the quadruplets. Hi, James. Good morning. Blue, get your foot out. No, ma'am. I really hate when they put their feet in the feed pans. Drives me crazy. It was already muddy yesterday, so I felt like it was starting to dry up and just become a little more manageable. At this point, it rains like all night. So instead of drying up, it's now much wetter than it was before. So I did milk Cecily yesterday. We we always use Fight Back for milking. And this morning, she's not really full. She does have kids that drink off of her, and I'm okay with that because they were so small when they were born. Figure that they need all of the extra sustenance that they can get. How are you guys? Everybody doing okay? Are your feed pans clean? I don't know if you can go outside today. If you see Miss Moon over there, she is the loud one. Good morning, Liz. Good morning, Tasha and Lynn. I'm making you dizzy, sorry. So I clean all their feed pans out. I've been feeding them in the barn because it's been so wet. Sage, you're not supposed to put your feet in the feed pan. So the smallest, So we keep weighing these babies. These babies were quadruplets. There's 3 does, so they're still in here with the dam. They were born in July, so they're not that old. They're, let's see, almost 6 months old, I guess, at this point. July, August, September, October, November, December. Okay. So, oh, thank you, Liz. So we've been weighing them since they were born, and they started out really, really tiny. When we first weighed them, I think Libby was the smallest, and she was like 1 pound, 12 ounces. So she was super tiny. We did give them supplemental bottles. They are separated every night so they can get extra feed. And so they've been growing really well. So they're no longer the smallest ones here. Yes, you used to be the smallest. At this point, Blue, I think, is the smallest weight-wise. So she's about 27 pounds. You know, Beauty might be a pound smaller. So they're not teeny weeny babies anymore. If you hear that goat with kind of a deep maaing through the door, good morning, Mom. Stay dry too. It's wet. That's Nutmeg. I recognize her ma. She's right here with the blue collar. She's actually due with kids on the 11th of January. So at that point, we'll have some really small babies. Hey, Sage, you have got to get down. Ma'am, feet out. Get your feet out. Okay, Sage, I don't know why you're standing with your feet in the feed pan. Get it down. So they're all lined up to eat except for Moon and Midnight and Revy. Revy does not like to share feed pans. So she usually comes out and eats separately. She's kind of a brat like that. There she is. Hi, Revy. Hi, Moon. Hi, Midnight. Easy, seriously? Are you gonna come? I hope my daughter's not watching this. She said that I always give special treatment to Easy. Look at how wide she is. So at this point, Easy's pretty far along in her pregnancy. She's at least 3 months along. Goats have a 5-month gestation, 145 days specifically for Nigerian dwarfs. In the past, Easy has gone up to 148 days. The 2 years that she's kidded here with me, so that's pretty normal for her. That's pretty normal in general. And if you look at this side right here, that looks like a baby bump. So a lot of times when they're eating, the babies will start to move around. And if you're looking for babies on your goat, remember, lunch is left. So you see the rumen to the left usually, and then rugrats on the right. So my sister-in-law told me that, and it's always helped me remember. So thank you, Ashley. She doesn't normally look like this, like with a funny bulge like this right here. She's normally just overall pretty round. She's had triplets in 2023 and 2024. Although in 2024 they were triplet bucks, which was a bit disappointing for me. I did end up keeping one of those bucks. One of those bucks also went to my sister-in-law. I wonder this year if she'll have quads. She just looks a little bit different. So no udder development yet. This is her daughter. I believe Revy is due in February as well, but looking at her from over the top, you don't see like that baby bulge to the right like you do on Easy. She looks a lot smaller, and that makes sense. Last year, okay, be nice. Last year she had a single. So I wonder if she's planning another single for me. I would love to have more kids from her. When does have multiples, typically they produce a little more milk to feed those kids. I actually did keep Revy's buck from last year as well. Okay, Easy, you can't get out and fight with everybody. I really wish she would have a doe kid, honestly. Last year she had a single buck kid. Easy had 3 buck kids. Their other sister, her other daughter, had a buck and a doe. So between the 3 of them, we ended up with 5 bucks and 1 doe. Cecily is due later in the year, so she's probably about a month bred. So she's still pretty small. And last year she wasn't even that big. Like I was expecting, I don't know, maybe twins. Although I had talked to someone who owned her dam, and she's like, these goats are like prolific breeders. So I think her dam had quadruplets almost every year. So she followed in suit with that. She also had quadruplets last year. 3 of them were does. And you see Miss Beauty here with the constant tail flagging. We have had these junior does going into heat like every 2 weeks, like clockwork. It's been driving me a little crazy. You need to get your feet out of the feed pan. admiring Easy at this point. Look how wide she is between her rear legs. So I've used her son to breed a lot of my does last year, and he passes that on to his kids. If you look at Cecily, her rear legs are not that wide. And honestly, they're not that angulated from the side when you're looking at the hawk. But when you look at her kids, they are very wide, especially in proportion to how big they are. So he did offer some improvements in that area. Why are you guys on the tack box? You never get up there. Is it because Easy's in here? Blue, did you just knock her down? That was not very nice. This is Midnight. She loves to come out and eat. Midnight, there's Moon. Moon and Beauty are over here having a spat. They are half siblings. And they're acting like it. It's so wet. I can't imagine that they're gonna venture out today. I don't blame them. It's mucky and gross. So I am gonna feed them some grass hay. Goats need to have roughage. They have a rumen. So if they can't get out and eat pasture, they always make sure that they have hay. So this is grass hay. You can tell it pretty much looks like dried grass. There's not a whole lot of leafiness in this hay. This is actually first cutting fescue grass. Guys, it's so wet out. I feel bad for you. At night, I don't give this pen grain. So at night, I give them the alfalfa hay. You can see a lot more leafiness in this. This is fourth cutting alfalfa. I think it has some orchard grass as well. Anyone else dealing like with a ton of rain where they live? I heard that in the southern part of the U.S. and Florida, there's some fellow goat breeders who are going to be dealing with some really cold temperatures. I looked at the map and it said it was going to be like in the 20s in Miami, all over the state. So I know that they're not really used to dealing with that. And they don't really have the infrastructure in place to deal with it, like some people up north who do it, you know, all through the winter. So really wonder how they're going to handle that. I know a lot of them are also expecting kids soon. For dairy goat breeders in my area, typically a lot of people will breed to have kids from January, usually up until March or April. A lot of people that show their goats, they want the goat in milk for show season, and you don't want her to just be fresh. You don't want her to have just kidded, you know, the week before, and then you take her to a show. You know, it's not going to be comfortable for you, for her, for the kids, anyone. So typically you would have her, you know, at least 8 weeks out. 6 to 8 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, depending on the doe. And at that point, they're really kind of ramping up their production a lot of times, anticipating, especially if you're dam raising or you're dam raising and bottle raising, where they're feeding kids that are growing, so they're eating more. I usually don't wean my kids until they're about 10 weeks. Sometimes, especially for doe kids that I'm keeping anyway, we'll keep going a little bit longer just to keep the extra growth on them. For like buck kids that I'm going to sell and They need to move on. Some people will wean them at 8 weeks, and I've bought kids that were weaned at 8 weeks, and they actually do really well. So we have a couple does due in January. I'm trying to think of who they are. I know Nutmeg is because she's the first one. And that was kind of a big deal because the year before she would not get bred and we kept putting her out with the buck, and I think the buck was sick of her. Who is coughing? Lulu. So I feel like she went into heat like 8 times that year. So this year for her to like go into heat once and be bred was a big deal. We were very happy. I think Bernicia is due, this big white doe. She's due in February, early February. She's over there scratching her nose on the brush. Not a lot of them are looking very big. Chocolate Chip is looking very big though. So she will be 2 years old in May. So I was glad that she's bred because last year she just was too big. We took her out in the show ring with all the other goats her same age, and she looked like a big monster. She was actually like the heaviest doe here at 1 year old, and we have like 6 and 7 year old does. I tease my son because that's like his goat. Pancake is his goat. She has blue eyes. She's right here staring at me. That's her daughter, Chocolate Chip. She also has blue eyes, and his animals always just love to eat, and they always get very round. Good morning, guys. Thanks for joining me. So I feel like with the wetness outside today, they're going to be pretty much stuck in the barn. They have pretty much space. They can go in the grain bin back there too. Sometimes I think they go back there to get away from the other goats. Minnie's looking pretty big as well, this doe. She did have triplets last year. Her first year, she had a single. Tiny's ready to get out. I usually let Tiny out for extra snacks. Easy, what are you doing? Easy's poking her head out. What are you doing over there? Are you going to get on the milk stand? I guess Easy's ready to be milked. Easy was on a 3 times a day milking rotation leading up into the national show. So usually goats really love getting milked. You know, they get pulled out, they're separate, they get their own little feed pan. You know, milking doesn't hurt, so they really enjoy it. So they kind of get disappointed when it's time to dry up. Every time I see a tail flagging like that, I'm like, what are you doing? So Eclipse was just flagging her tail, but it just seemed like a random one. Now Miss Hazel is also looking really big. She will be, gosh, she will be 4 years old already this year. She's only a second freshener. She did not kid when she was 2. She was the one that had kind of the Mari show moment with her daughter Time, where we had to do a DNA test to figure out who her dad was. So this year we did not breed her back to Goose. We bred her to Maverick. A lot of these does are bred to Maverick. At this point, almost all of our senior does are bred. So it's getting pretty late in the year. I typically don't like to breed into January, especially for senior does. Cookie is one that I am unsure of. What's going on over there? Crumble was really loud last night. She kept screaming at me. This morning, she's much quieter. That was alfalfa hay. You can see how much they love it. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Is it Subal Dar Goat Farming? I will have to check out your page. I'm doing well. I hope you are too. Hopefully you have some goat videos on there. I love seeing what other people are doing with their goats. There is 32 does in this pen. Minnie did discover that that's alfalfa hay. You can see she's got her full head into the barrel, scarfing it down. So Nutmeg due in, gosh, what is today? Today's the 29th, so she is due in less than 2 weeks. This doe right here, she's not very big. She's been on a rotation of having a single, and then the next year she'll have twins. And then a single, then twins. Last year she did have a single buck kid. And that was not a goose. We did breed her to Maverick this year. We use Maverick quite a bit. We also use Cuddles quite a bit. They don't seem very active this morning. I think it's this rainy weather. It's gotten everybody like feeling lethargic. It's not even that cold either. It's been like up to 60 every day. Been kind of weird weather. Good morning. Is it Zishan Ali? Hope you're doing well. Farm life. What type of goats are they? These are Nigerian dwarfs. I only have one breed of dairy goats. I picked the Nigerian dwarfs when my daughter started 4-H back in 2019. I did not have any goats. I did have goats growing up. I had Oberhasleys and Nubians. The Nigerian dwarf is a newer goat breed here in the U.S. In that they weren't really recognized as an official breed until the 2000s. So when you come to like the American Dairy Goat Association, these goats were not allowed to show until, it's been fairly recent. So when we were getting 4-H goats for her, we did not have a lot of room. We didn't have a barn. So I was like, these goats have a very small footprint. My biggest doe is like 85 pounds. When you come to a standard goat, a lot of them are around 150. They'll be easy for her to manage. She was 9 years old, easy for her to walk. So I hadn't really even looked at a Nigerian dwarf until I went to buy these goats. I did buy Nutmeg that year as a yearling, this doe here. I also bought Tiny. I don't know where Tiny is. They both have blue collars on. She's that black doe on the other side of the barrel. So I was really shocked by how small they looked for like yearlings, because usually a yearling standard goat has really long legs, it's pretty long bodied, and these guys don't. Oh, you have Nigerian dwarfs and boar goats. That's quite a mix. Quite the size difference there. And ear difference. So you got the pendulous ears, you got the erect ears, you got the dish face, you got the Roman nose. I wonder if your boar goats have horns. So all of my goats are disbutted. To show in an ADGA show, you actually have to have your goat disbutted. So I don't really see that many dairy goats with horns. They're kind of a whole nother headache to manage when they have really long horns as well. Also, they do have horns. Do your Nigerians have horns as well? I wonder if you keep them together or if you separate them. My sister-in-law was raising boar goats, and then she kind of pivoted to dairy goats, so she went with Nigerians. Her daughter was going into 4-H too. My niece is the same age as my daughter. So she had some boars and Nigerians, and they actually did get along pretty well. Okay, so they both have horns. That makes sense. Whenever I sell someone a goat, I'm like, you know, be careful. This goat's disbutted. He's not going to have horns too. If your other goats do have horns, you know, sometimes they can get picked on, but... Ugh, got a spider on me. I really hate spiders. These junior does are killing me with the going into heat and screaming. So I threw alfalfa hay in the barrel. So if you see why there's a big pile of goats around this barrel, it's because they realized it. Everyone else didn't realize it. Crumple is over there using the brush. Oh, okay, so you keep them separate. That makes sense. That's a lot of work too, though, to have two separate kind of operations going, but I think that's a really great idea. How many goats do you have? The boar goats are very, very popular here in my county. When we go to the county fair, it's not a sanctioned show, it's just kind of a fair show. There's a lot of boar goats there. There's actually quite a few breeding stocks, so you'll have like the Bordeaux's. And then there's, of course, a lot of boar wethers, which go through like the 4-H auction, and then the kids can get some money to put back into their care. When it comes to like milking stock, like dairy goats, there's not really a lot there. I think there might be like, I don't know, 20 goats in the whole show. So dairy goats are like a year-round care. Whereas a lot of 4-H'ers can get a market wether. You know, they can raise it for a few months, take it to the auction, they sell the goat, and then they're done. They get a break until the next year. Also, you have 5 boars, 7 Nigerian dwarf. They will have babies soon in March. How exciting for you. And you show your goats too. That's great. We need more people showing goats, more people showing dairy goats and meat goats. But I think the meat goats are doing very, very well. When you're looking at the prices of some of the meat goats that sell, I'm just like blown away when it comes to how much some of them go for. It's unbelievable. In the dairy goat world, there's pretty much 2 big sales, like prestigious sales. You have the spotlight sale, which is done usually at the ADGA convention. I think they're actually changing it in the future. So in years past, they rent out like a hotel for the convention. All these goats are like, they have to apply and be selected to be in the spotlight sale. They look at the milk records, they look at the conformation, the show wins, the pedigrees, and then they walk the goats down a runway. And usually they're, from what I've seen lately, they've all been pretty glittery. The goats are all trimmed up. They're very stylish. The person walking them is all dressed up. Everyone is kind of dressed up for the event. Like, it'll be inside the hotel, you know, in a like a nice dinner area. So then people will bid on the goat that's being walked. And then there's also the Colorama sale. The Colorama sale takes place at the Adkin National Show. So this year, the Adkin National Show is in Nebraska. I don't think we're going to make it this year. I went and showed for the first time last year. I really loved it. My kids did all the youth events. They both did showmanship. My daughter did the judging. What is going on over there? The judging contest. I think she did the management as well. They have like a lot of youth events. So the Colorama sale is there at the National Show, and it was held at the Kentucky Expo Center. If anyone knows where North American is held, there in Louisville. So how many goats do I have right now? I have 42 goats right now. 32 of them are these does. So that means I have 10 bucks. And so they're not all breeding bucks. Some of them will go as wethers. And then I do have 4 mature senior bucks. They live on the other side of this wall, like over there. And then I have 3 junior bucks. So I bought a buck last year. Well, it's actually this year. I'm thinking like last June is when I got him. So I used him quite a bit for this spring. And then I kept a buck from Easy and I kept a buck from Revy. So I don't know how long I'll keep them. Easy's my besto and Revy is her daughter. So I just don't want to lose those genetics in case, you know, I've been extremely fortunate with my herd, but if something were to happen, I would love to kind of have a backup goat. I don't have the bucks collected. I don't have like a semen tank or anything. So just keeping the extra animal around right now is kind of my insurance policy, I guess, on those goats. So looking at them now, it looks to me like Miss Time jumped out. This is my daughter's goat, and she's made her into like a complete diva. But she's very, very sweet. Like, for anyone that does showmanship with goats, you know, usually you get an older doe that will just stand and that they won't cause any trouble. You put their feet in the place and they just leave them there. They'll walk, they don't fight you. You know, they just enjoy being shown. Well, Time is like that, and she was like that as a kid. And so it's kind of something odd. Like, normally you don't see that with kids. Like, they will struggle and they'll fight you the whole time, and it's like a whole headache. But Time is like an angel in the show ring. She does whatever my daughter asks. She'll stand there with her little head held high. She's very, very sweet. Honestly, the best thing about Time is that when you go to shave her, she doesn't even care. She just stands there. She lets you like shave her face. You can shave her feet. You can shave her legs. She doesn't kick. She doesn't try to fight you. It's like she enjoys being shaved. So last year, she ended up getting shaved a lot of times. We took her to a show in early May. It's like a yearly show here in Indiana. It's always the first weekend in May. It's on a Sunday. And so she got shaved for that. Since she was born in January, I felt comfortable taking her. She was 4 months old at that time. And it was pretty warm here too. So she got shaved for that show, and then she got showed a few weeks later at a Memorial Day show, which I don't even think she shaved her again for that. Then we ended up taking her to a mid-June show, and she did get shaved for that. Then we ended up taking her to the national show, so she got shaved again for that. And then we took her to our state fair, so yet again, time was shaved again. So if you show dairy goats, you know that they're all usually shaved in the show ring. And you use like a number 10 clipper blade for that. So I can't remember how long it is exactly, but it's pretty short. In the summer though, I typically will shave everybody at least once. I think it's a good practice because their hair gets really long. Like Nigerian dwarf hair is very thick. And depending on the lines, like some is very soft and long, some's kind of coarse. But when you shave them down that short, you know, you can check the skin, you can check their hair, you can see the condition of everything. At that point, if they had any, you know, type of skin parasite or mites or anything, that would get rid of it. Since I've been using ivermectin pour-on periodically, it seems to have resolved any of that. But also, when it's super hot here, I know in Indiana, we get a lot of, 90-degree days. So them losing all of that excess hair does keep them nice and cool. But if you are shaving your goats and it's a sunny day, they will get sunburnt. So a lot of people will put like a spray-on sunscreen on their goat after they shave them. If they get sunburnt, they can get really flaky. I also heard of people putting baby powder on their goat after they shave it. I guess that's kind of a physical barrier to keep them from getting sunburnt. Not something that I've done because we typically have pretty much shade available. My goats don't go out and eat very much. Okay. I don't know what's going on down here. She is acting like a buck. I don't know if you can see it, but all of the hair along her dorsal is standing up. And also Tiny's is as well. Honestly, when they're pregnant, I hate when they do this. Not every goat will do it, but for me, it's typically been a sign that they have a lot of buck kids. Last year, she kept acting like a buck. She had triplet bucks. It's not every doe either. Some does will act really bucky. And Hazel was acting very, very bucky last year. Like it was ongoing. And she had 2 bucks and a doe. But then sometimes you'll have a doe who's hiding, 3 bucks, but she doesn't act bucky at all. But I don't like when they act bucky because of that. So you have 5 Nigerian dwarf girls, 1 buck, and a wether. That's a really great number to have. So I'm guessing you use that Nigerian buck on all of your does. So next year, I wonder if you have a lot of does, if you'll have to get another buck. Hello, is it Shiv Pow? Hope you're doing well. One of my does that I'm most excited about is Sage. I've been admiring her from here. She's got a beautiful rump. If you look at the slope of rump from her hips to her pins, you probably can't see it very well from this distance. In person, you can. Neighbor's dog is barking about something. So in our area, we have coyotes, and we have been hearing them a lot at night. Like, I don't know if they're having puppies. I don't know what's going on with the coyotes. It seems like the sound travels really far, but they'll all get together. They'll all start like yipping. If you've heard like the coyote yip, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, Tiny is a doe. She's being a buck right now. So that really scares me. A lot of these kids are less than 5 pounds when they're born. Even like these doe kids, I mean, goats have a very long neck. They are a prey animal. They have no horns. So having the coyotes in the area is something that I don't like. And a reason that we're now looking for a livestock guardian dog to add to our herd. Probably a puppy. I'm kind of open to different breeds. I'm kind of scared to get a Great Pyrenees. I've never had one. I've heard that they do test fences and boundaries, and I'm not sure that's something that I can handle. I also heard that they're kind of loud, especially at night. So we do have houses around us. I don't know how well that will go over. And in kidding season, I normally keep like a baby monitor here, just because if there's anything loud or a goat starts screaming, I can hear it and it'll wake me up. So I think if a dog was like continually barking out here, I'm not sure if I could still do that. So I'm looking at a Maremma. I'm also looking into an Anatolian. My sister-in-law got 2 of those recently, and one's super chill and one's a little more hyper, but they've worked out really, really well for them. So when I'm talking about the junior does continually going into heat, this is why it drives me crazy. This thing over here. Tiny is pregnant and she's jumping on this little junior doe. You better not have a bunch of bucks in there, Tiny. Tiny has produced the most bucks, I think, out of every doe in this herd. She had 3 years, now she's fighting with Lulu, 3 years of twin bucks. And so she was my best doe, and I was like, no, I have this really nice doe. I can't get a doe kid out of her. Of course, you know, any buck kids are related to her and any other does, so I can't even use them. So I bred her to Waylon one year, and she had a buck and a doe twins. And then the next year, I was like, okay, that worked. We got a doe. We'll breed her to Waylon again. At that point, she had triplets, which was her first time. She had 2 bucks and a doe. And so then last year, I think I may have gotten cocky. I did not breed her to Waylon again, even though it had worked very well. I was like, you know, let's have some variety. So I bred her to Maverick, and now she's acting like a buck. So I really hope she doesn't have twin bucks or triplet bucks again. I have a ton of Waylon daughters already, so I had bought these new bucks and really wanting some does out of them. Waylon almost always has like a doe kid. Actually, Sage is his daughter. Sage is Waylon's daughter. So farm life, I really hope you get some more does this year. And hopefully you can keep some of them. Oh no, you sold one. It got ate by a coyote. Oh. You've had trouble with a fox with your chickens. Yeah, unfortunately. With chickens, it seems like everything just likes to eat them. We've been very, very fortunate here. I've not had any trouble with my chickens here. And I don't know if it's because I have a dog in the yard. He normally sleeps in the house, but we let him roam the yard just to get a scent out. In the past, we've had a lot of trouble with raccoons getting our chickens. One year we did have a weasel, and it killed everything. It killed 2 rabbits. It killed every chicken. It did not eat any of them. You know, weasels will just like bite their neck and drink the blood. But we actually saw it during the day, which was very odd because normally they're very elusive. It was like dragging a chicken into the tunnel, so we were able to trap it and get rid of it. But here we've been very fortunate with our chickens. Oh, sorry, it wasn't a weasel. It was a mink, now that I think about it. So we've been very fortunate here with our chickens. The other day, I was driving down our road and I've never seen one in my life, but here in Southeast Indiana, they're becoming very, very popular. It was a bobcat, and it was really beautiful. It had like beautiful markings. And of course, they have the short tail. I had never seen one like in person before. So I now realize that they're very close to us since that was right down the road. A couple months ago, my husband and I were sitting out on the deck, and like a car came down and turned around in the driveway and then drove back down the road, then came back. And so the guy gets out and he said, "Do you have a garbage bag that I could like borrow?" So we're out here in a rural area, so out in the country. And so my husband's like, "Yeah, sure." You know, and the guy's like, "Well, you know, if someone needs a garbage bag, it's not a big deal. You're not going to question them." So he said that he was driving down the road. He saw a bobcat that was dead on the side of the road. So he was actually going down with the garbage bag to pick up the bobcat. So they're pretty rare here in that you don't see them very often, and that people are picking them up if they get hit. They are protected, so you know, you're not supposed to do anything like shoot them or anything. You know, I'm a cat person myself, so I was just tickled pink seeing this, you know, beautiful bobcat. We do have like a ton of mice in the area, so I feel like they probably get their fill there. It wasn't very big, so I feel like it wasn't much bigger than this big orange cat that I have. And my cats catch like, they catch mice like every day. And they also catch like little voles, you know, with the short tail. They catch a ton of those. So farm life with AFF. I really want to keep one out of my Dixie and my Willow, but we will have to see when they have babies. Oh, I really hope that you get some doe kids this year. Sending the doe fairy your way. I love the name Willow. So my buck Waylon, his dam was named Willow. She was like a stunning doe. She appraised 90, which is really, really good. And my daughter's name is Willow. I love the name Willow. Dixie's a very, very cute name. I wonder what everyone else does with naming. We kind of try to keep to themes, like with the doe lines to it. It'll help you remember like who the doe's out of without checking papers. But sometimes, you know, when a name just fits, you just go with it. So Nutmeg, her family did have like a whole spice theme. So she's Nutmeg, her daughters were Poppy and Chia. And then their daughters were Cinnamon. But then I named one Minnie, and then one was Lucky Charm because she, you know, ate the Lucky Charms. But we actually called her Micro. That's kind of her barn name because she was so tiny. You go with themes every year too. Yeah, I love that. I love hearing people's goats' names. So since Cecily had her babies really close to the 4th of July, we did all patriotic names with them. They were Independence, Liberty Bell, and American Beauty. Cecily actually shares, she's a half brother to one of my bucks, my big black buck, Isaac. So they share the same dam, and that dam is sassafras. And so she's kind of a play on that. Her name is Cecily. And so I thought about naming one of their doe kids back after that doe, sassafras. And then that doe's dam is Sassanique. So you see a lot of goat breeders will use themes. So anyway, going back to Nutmeg, her daughter is Hazel, and then, which I don't know if is really a spice or more of a nut, but since she's Nutmeg, that's like a hazelnut. And then her other daughter is Sage, and then we have Thyme. So they're all spices. My husband sometimes names goats. So he was a Navy veteran. He's probably watching. So he always liked the movie Top Gun. So he named the one buck Maverick. And they're not in our farm name, but the lady let us pick the name for the buck. So he named him Maverick, and she really liked it. And then the other buck, he named Goose. So now I feel like we can't even split them up. Oh, Ebony, Star, Zipperfin, and Bobo. That's your Nigerian dwarfs, and Willow and Dixie. Very cute names. I had an Ebony when I was a kid. She was a solid black doe. If you're familiar with the Oberhausley goat breed, they can be two colors. They can be the Chamoisé with black markings. The black markings include like a dorsal stripe. They include the bottom of the legs. Usually they have the stripes on the face. Or the does can be solid black. So I actually had a solid black Oberhausley, and her name was Ebony. Now what's funny about that breed is the bucks are not allowed to be solid black. So if you had a solid black Oberhausley buck, that would be a DQ. For the Nigerian dwarfs, there's not any color disqualifications for this breed. There's the main disqualification, which is height. So if you've ever shown your Nigerian dwarf in a sanctioned show, you know that the judge is supposed to stand there with a measuring stick and have everybody walk under it and make sure that your goat is not over height. So when I judge shows, I have to bring my measuring stick and stand there and measure every goat. And it gets really awkward when you have, especially when you have bucks. The height limit for bucks is 23.5 inches, but you know, when people bring their bucks to a show, they get around other bucks. A lot of times they get puffed up. Their hair, you know, is standing up. Really, they just puff their whole body up. They get really competitive around the other bucks and does. And so when you go to measure them, a lot of times they'll be taller than 23.5 inches. Unfortunately, it's a DQ, so they're not even allowed in the show ring at that point. So then, you know, they've brought their buck, they've paid to enter their buck, and then they can't even show their buck. I feel terrible for them. However, as a breeder of Nigerian dwarfs myself, I have 2 bucks that are over height. So I get it. I just don't show them. You can still register them. You can actually still appraise them as well. They cannot score excellent in general appearance if they're over height. They will be coded for being over height. You see a ton of Nigerian dwarf bucks being over height. A lot of people don't appraise them because they don't want that code following their buck. The overheight bucks that I've had, they've never had daughters that are over height. So for me, I don't really like showing bucks anyway, so I feel like that's not a huge deal. A lot of these does that are over a year old actually have dads that are over height. And like when you buy a buck kid, you don't know if it's going to be over height or not. You can look at the parents, but management, you know, it varies. If you do a really great job managing your herd and they're extremely growthy, chances are that one of your bucks might be over height. I've actually heard of some Nigerian dwarf bucks that are like 28 inches, which is insane. For does, it's 1 inch shorter, so they have to be 22 inches at the withers or under. Luckily, all of my does are not over that. They're all within that height range. Now Pancake's actually under height. I don't know if she still is though. I haven't measured her recently. So that's not a disqualification. She can still be shown. But when she did get LA'd, she was like coded for being under height, I think. They typically want them between, I believe it's 17 and 22 and a half for does. So you don't want, you know, your goats to be like super teeny tiny. They are expected to do big jobs. You know, they're having kids, they're producing a lot of milk. You don't want them super small. For my goats, I really have been breeding for width. I think a dairy goat needs to be really sharp and angular, but also really powerful because, again, they're doing a lot. You just can't expect a doe to carry 3-4 kids and then milk for months on end, producing, you know, a lot of high quality milk unless it's a powerful, you know, sturdy doe. And then, of course, you also want longevity with these ladies. I've seen some Nigerian dwarfs lately who have been celebrating their 16th birthday, which is just wild to me. Since I had standards when I was younger, they don't live as long as Nigerians. So for a goat to be like 16 years old is crazy. I really need to check Sage's due date. So we wrote all of the breeding dates down on our calendar, on our whiteboard, and then I calculated all the due dates, but then I put that paper somewhere and haven't found it, so. Okay, so farm life with AFF. Oh my gosh, his horn fell off? That's wild. I've seen that happen before. That's oh my gosh, crazy. So is he like got one horn now? Luckily, goats are not self-conscious about their looks. They're completely confident no matter what they look like. Pancake checks this door constantly to see if I left it unlatched. She uses her nose against that board to push it to the side. Cedric. So I have a friend who has a buck named Cedric, and she always talks about Cedric constantly. Seems to be a popular buck name. Really hope it dries up in the next few days. It looks like it's going to. Hi, ma'am. No one's coming out. We have enough goats out. Actually, those goats need to come out here. So we do have to get ready to leave. I'm gonna spread this hay over into this side. Should probably get another feeder now that the goats are getting bigger. baby. Look how pretty her blue eyes are. You have such pretty eyes. Oh, little Miss Grace. Okay, ladies. Bernicia. Bernicia looks like, I feel like she has an old lady face. But she's not the oldest one here. She is going to be 6. She's a sweetheart. Why are you jumping on me? Okay, guys, well, I've got to feed all my bucks and haul some water in for these ladies. Thank you for joining me on my morning chores. If you're free tomorrow, pop in and see me then. Oh, you have Star and Bobo that have blue eyes. That's pretty rare. I only have 2. Hello, hello. Well, thanks again for watching, guys. Pop in tomorrow if you're free. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend and a peaceful Sunday. Bye-bye.